everyone, I'm Jay.
And I'm Sean.
And we watched some movies.
Yes, we did.
So last week it was Sundance.
Yes, it was.
And we watched a ton of movies.
Yes, we did. Mostly
Metric
you.
ton.
That's
Mostly
official.
me. A little bit you.
Yeah.
And today we're going to talk about some of our favorite horror movies from the film festival. Because we saw a few.
Yeah, you more than me.
Again, true. Amazingly true. I watched them even by myself.
You did. And
in the middle of the night.
You didn't wake me up screaming.
Not even. Was close call a few times. But I was so brave.
Good for you, babe. We're all proud.
Yeah, I was going to wake you up to tell you that, too.
You might as well.
So.
Yeah.
Just so you know, Sean, I did not wake you up just now screaming. So I woke you up to tell you.
Those are freebies, yeah.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's start with Violation. So this movie was at Sundance 2021. Directors Dusty Mancinelli and Madeleine Sims-Fewer. Madeleine Sims-Fewer, who also stars in this crazy movie. This is one of the movies that asked me how old I was, and after I slapped it for daring to ask me such a thing, I did say, yeah, I'm legal. It is okay to show me what goes in a man's underwear.
That's why they ask you, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I don't get this at all, this weird American way of life where, like, I can see what goes inside of a man's body and see it be ripped out, cut to pieces.
Yeah, that's
like,
PG-13.
Terrible. Yes. Anyways, this movie, whew, she's a doozy.
Yeah.
So it's about two couples, in fact, two sisters and their husbands. So Madeleine Sims-Fewer plays Miriam. She is visiting her sister Greta with her own husband Caleb. Now, Miriam and Caleb are going through some rough times. They've not been happy in a while. They're not having marital relations. They're not deeply in love the way Greta and her husband Dylan seem to be. Because they're playing, you know, the old grab each other, PDA heavy, just rubbing their happiness all over Miriam's face. Poor woman. I don't know why she's even visited this sister. She's horrible. Just dares to be happy around her, which nobody asked for that. Anyways, Miriam and Caleb going through troubles. It's not good. Greta and Dylan, marital bliss. But one night, when Greta and Caleb each retire early, leaving Miriam and Dylan, again, this is sister and brother-in-law, alone by the fire, things turn a little flirty. You know, Miriam confesses that their marriage has been troubled and Dylan is sympathetic, but they get a little too flirty about it and end up sharing a kiss. Bad Miriam, bad girl. Bad Dylan too.
Yep.
Cut to the next morning. They have fallen asleep by the fire. And when Miriam wakes up, she's very surprised to find herself being raped by Dylan. As you would be.
Oh, sure.
Sure. And then increasingly just alarmed and angry, sad, confused when he tries to rewrite the whole scenario and be like, well, you wanted it, you asked for it, you loved it, even though she was unconscious. And then when Miriam tries to tell her sister about this, it does not go well. The sister is pretty resistant. And so Miriam spends some time on her own hatching a revenge plan. So obviously this movie is going to be filled with trigger warnings, and that's fair. But this is a rape revenge fantasy come to life, where Miriam's going to invite Dylan to a remote cottage in the woods, and Dylan is still so stupid, he marches right in there all excited, because he does not know what's coming.
He does not.
can't imagine what that new hoist is for. Or the tarps, the cooler, the baseball bat wrapped in newspapers. Dylan.
The signs were all there.
They were. So it's like he wanted it.
Yeah.
He was asking for it.
That's very true, yes.
Right. So did you like Violation? Did you see Violation?
I did see it.
Okay.
It's very tough. Because it
Of
is
course
like...
it is. It starts out tough and then gets tougher.
Oh yeah. Because it is
and
the whole
not to mention all
thing.
the erections.
Yeah. That's right.
The revenge erections.
Well, they weren't revenge erections exactly.
I don't know.
All right.
Well, his weren't. The fact that she made him do it first.
All right. I see.
You know.
Yep.
You know.
That wasn't a winch in her pants.
Woo! Exciting stuff. And I just find it interesting because when you do put a female behind the camera on this, suddenly
it's a different movie.
And we get to see a woman who was violated take back the power.
And she did.
She sure did, yeah. Woo! So obviously a very powerful performance by Madeleine Sims-Fewer, Abili, Anna Maguire, and Jesse LaVercombe round out the cast. Crazy stuff goes down, guys. Crazier than you're even imagining right now.
Correct.
So look forward to that. It's a pretty good movie. It is.
Age.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Work it out in advance.
It is a horror movie, for darn sure.
Yeah.
One you haven't seen before.
No, you
so
haven't.
That's refreshing. I thought it was very interesting. Again, tough to watch, of course, but it's a whole new take, even on the genre. So I'm up for that. This one is going to be streaming on Shudder, which is the horror movie streaming service, so it's appropriate. Streaming on Shudder, March 25th, 2021, if you want to check it out. Next, I watched Censor, and I feel like maybe I watched this one alone.
Yeah, I didn't see this one.
Okay. This one, ooh, oh boy, they really wanted to make me squirm. But I loved the premise. So Enid, played by Niamh Algar, is a censor, by which she is the woman who puts the ratings on our movies.
Who makes you enter your age.
Exactly. So, you know, if a director wants an R rating, which Violation was not, that is more than an R. If there's erections, you're more than an R. An R rating, you can have a certain amount of blood, a certain amount of guts. And there are people in charge of watching those movies and making directors cut things, cut even languages. There's only like one fuck in a PG-13, so it better be a good one. So there's somebody in charge of making all of those decisions, and Enid is that woman. So I fell in love with her at the very beginning of the movie. She's wonderful. She's telling her partner, and I will quote here, "I've salvaged the tug of war with the intestines, kept in most of the screwdriver stuff, and I've only trimmed the tiniest bit off the genitals. But some things should be left to the imagination." So this is her job. This is what she goes to work and does every day. Now, this movie is from the UK, where they apparently call them video nasties. I've never heard this term before, but I learned it for this movie. It's a nasty. That is her job, is to watch the nasties day in, day out. So is this woman pretty desensitized to all of the horrors of a horror movie? Of course. So it's set in the 80s, so it's got a fun vibe to it. Her bureau is sort of embroiled in a scandal right now because there is a murder that has happened in real life that the media is blaming on a certain movie that Enid was responsible for reviewing, and people are saying she let something go that she shouldn't have. Even though, let me tell you, Enid is very good at her job. She takes it seriously. And it's hard to imagine that she would have let anything slip by her.
But we all know there were no murders before there were movies and video games.
We do all know
Obviously.
that, right. But that is like the least of Enid's problems, because one day when she is doing her job watching another nasty, she sees a video that feels familiar to her. And the reason it feels familiar to her is it reminds her of the day her sister disappeared. Now, this is decades ago at this point, but it strikes such a chord that she becomes obsessed with the idea that the director of this movie knows something about her sister, either is a witness to what happened that day, or the perpetrator, or has met her sister. Like, nobody ever knew what happened to her sister after she disappeared. And so Enid just becomes obsessed with finding this director and finding her sister. And so she kind of has a mental breakdown and fiction and reality blur, because she tracks down the director. He's doing another movie that's a sequel to the movie where she thinks is about her sister's disappearance. And yeah, things go haywire. I loved this movie. Prano Bailey Bond is the writer and director. She's great. This is a crazy movie, but I thought it was fun, but also just really interesting. It has some unique themes to it. And of course, I loved the insider angle to this. It's a little bit meta. Her deciding what can be in a horror movie as she is herself becoming the star of a horror movie. Not bad.
That sounds good.
Now, this one I know we watched together, Sean. In the Earth by Ben Wheatley. So it's almost not a film festival if we haven't seen a Ben Wheatley film, and Ben Wheatley's pretty good at bringing us all kinds of super crazy movies.
He is. That's his specialty.
Woo-hoo, boy is he good at it. So, in this one, horror movies can be so hard to describe, really, especially these kinds of like arty horror movies where you're just like, I don't even know. But anyways, there's some sort of pandemic going on in the world. Not unlike ours, perhaps a little more serious.
Yeah.
Perhaps just the further
like
development of ours.
Yeah.
A guy named Martin has shown up at a remote cabin in the woods. Why are so many remote cabin in the woods at the beginning of these things?
Because that's how you get horror. You go into the woods.
You do stupid stuff. He's a research scientist. This guy played by Joel Fry. A research scientist who is going to even in a more remote research camp that is physically out in the woods. And he's going to have to hike for 2 days to get there.
The cabin is the civilization.
Yes, it is. I mean, terrible idea all over it. So he's actually at the cabin just to meet up with his guide because, I mean, people have become disoriented trying to get to this camp and had to get rescued out. This is not a great situation.
These woods are serious.
These woods are serious. So Alma is the guide, played by Alora Torchia. Before we even leave the cabin, we do learn that there's like a local legend about a witch or some mystical thing that haunts the woods.
Yep.
So we're all a little worried about that. The characters not so much because they don't know they're in a horror movie yet, but we have known it all along.
Yeah.
You know? We know this is not going to turn out to just be a really fun sci-fi movie. No, we know they're in horror, so take this shit seriously, guys.
They eventually do, but it's too late.
It's always too late by the time, and it doesn't matter. You can yell and scream. It's a horror movie. They have to make bad choices. They don't make horror movies about people like me who don't go down dark alleys and have never been to a cabin in the woods. You're welcome. So they're out in the woods. They fuck things up on their very first night. I mean, is it their fault? I say yes for being out there in the first place. But they get attacked, they get robbed. It's a very sinister thing, even though nothing super terrible happens. But like, you're sleeping in your tent and then all of a sudden a bunch of people are kicking you, attacking you. You can't see them because you're still in your tiny tent in the dark. But they're physically assaulted. They're each in their own tent, so they're not even together. And then they wake up the next morning and discover all their stuff is gone, even their shoes. I mean, I would just sit there and wait to be rescued. But that's because I was a brownie, and we learned that if you got lost in the woods, to hug a tree.
That's right. Stay in one place.
Yeah.
The search party is coming.
Yeah. But they don't do that.
Yeah, also there's no search party here because I think everyone died of the virus.
Sean, they go walking. Barefoot, what happens?
Yeah,
Slice the
he
foot
slices
open.
his foot. Don't go walking barefoot in the woods.
No,
Hug
it was
a
so
tree.
stupid. Then, even more stupid, a strange man is following them, and then when they finally call him out, he's like, follow me back to my off-grid apartment.
And they do.
And I'll treat your sliced up foot.
And he sort of does.
Well, yeah, he plays doctor all right. He's got some instruments he's been wanting to play with.
Yeah, he's not super convincing in the role.
No. So this guy, Zach, played by Reese Shearsmith. I mean, you've just been attacked by unknown people. You didn't even see their faces. So why would you trust anyone in the woods, let alone a super shady drifter?
Who is the only person you've seen. So he should have been
except
your
for
prime
that like abandoned campsite full of blood.
Right. But those people apparently are dead.
Right.
And who killed them? And who beat you up in your tent?
Nobody knows.
No
It's
one
a
knows
mystery.
except here's a creepy guy.
Yeah.
It might have been him.
So anyways, you may have guessed that Zach is bad news.
He's bad news. You know it. It's not a secret.
No. But even when they manage to like temporarily escape him and run into the research scientist Olivia, who that was their goal this whole time. Olivia, played by Haley Squires. Oh, it doesn't get better. No, it doesn't. But is it the people who are crazy, or is it the woods who have made them crazy? There's like hallucinogenic stuff.
There's a lot of weird stuff going
noises and lights and.
They get Ben Wheatley'd. What happens.
Yes, they do, and so do we.
Yeah.
So you don't know what's going on. It's driving
it's
you
so
a little bit
disorienting.
batty. Yes, I mean he is the master of making us feel as sick as the people in the movie do. It's tough.
Yeah.
And you have to decide, who is the real villain here? Is it the people, or are there these intangible forces? And we don't really get a firm answer, so you just have to be on the lookout for everything. Everything is bad and coming to kill you.
Yep.
The end.
Welcome to the woods.
That one is called In the Earth. Next, Coming Home in the Dark. I think you watched this one.
I did watch this one, yes.
So it's a New Zealand movie by director James Ashcroft. This one was a rough one,
yeah.
So a family is out for a nice day in the park. They go for a little hike. The mom and the dad have to drag their teenage sons along and to get them to look up from their phones. Having a little picnic that gets interrupted by two
drifters.
I mean,
you
know.
Drifter's gonna drift.
So Hoagie and Jill are the mom and the dad. Hoagie is played by Eric Thompson, Jill by Miriama McDowell. These drifters, my goodness, are going to take them on a nightmare road trip because they're not here just to rob them.
No.
My goodness, that would have been...
Oh, that would have been an easy movie.
Yes. They
just
think it's their worst nightmare.
And go home.
Oh, no. So they force them back into the family car. They make them drive through the night. This is an exercise in like terrorism, in torture, and slowly throughout the night, these two drifters, so there's Mandrake, played by Daniel Gillies, and Tubbs, played by Matthias Luafutu. And these two, it turns out, have not randomly selected this family. They've been selected for a very special reason. That reason is Dad's past. So it turns out Dad has done... Hoagie. Right. Some regrettable things in his past.
Yeah.
And now his whole family is going to pay.
Yeah.
So I thought I mean, this is I thought, a very effective horror movie. But also, for me personally, just sort of the cultural angle of this struck a chord with me as a Canadian because we have a similar history, although I suppose every country does. But I just thought that was such a neat angle to take like a real tragedy in your country's history and use that as a starting point to this night of terror of this.
Yeah, it's a different kind of revenge story.
Yes. So it is interesting how your perception shifts as to who are the heroes and villains of this movie, and if there are any of either of those kinds of things. It is really...
It's intense.
It's very intense. So it is a very well executed horror movie. It does keep that level of intensity up because it's just this one night's drive. Yeah.
There's no, there's 2 minutes at the start of the movie and here are the drifters.
Yeah.
And then the rest is just the torture part.
Horribleness. But anyways, I liked it.
Yeah.
I did. I thought
it's well done.
Yeah,
it really is.
Mm-hmm. So that one stuck with me. That's for sure.
Agreed. Yeah.
Next, I watched Mayday. I'm pretty sure I saw this one by myself.
I think so.
By director Karen Tenore. So this one is this the weirdest one in the bunch? I don't know.
Ooh, that's saying something.
Anna, played by Grace Van Patten, is working in a wedding venue, I guess. She's a cater waiter or something. She's sleeping in her boyfriend's car, so they don't have a great existence.
Is it a nice car?
No.
Okay then.
And then something happens with her boss that's really bad. And basically she sticks her head in an oven. When she wakes up, she's in this special place. I don't know if it's supposed to be limbo for suicides, but it's basically its own little island.
Like Lost.
I was gonna say Wonder Woman.
Okay.
But okay, we have different references and that's fine. It's its own little... I never made it to the end of Lost, so perhaps this is a clever one of yours than I know. I don't know.
Well, the whole thing about Lost was that everyone thought the island was purgatory, but then it turned out that there was a separate purgatory that we found out about later in the show, but didn't find out it was purgatory until the end, the last episode.
I never regretted... I think I watched the first season.
Yeah, that was the best part.
And then I stopped.
Yeah, you did the right thing.
I had no regrets.
No.
So...
Yeah, it was a wormhole.
Anyways, Mayday. So there's this island, and on the island are women who have committed suicide because of bad men. And they're fighting a perpetual war. A war that looks a lot like World War I, for example, where the women send out Mayday calls and warplanes going by answer them, and when they come to rescue them, they actually go down. The island seems to attract them only to kill them. So it reminded me of Steve Trevor going down near the island, except for if you survive and swim to the island, the girls have trained as snipers and they will shoot you in the head because they're angry at men.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like both.
Okay, exciting. So yeah, it is a strange women-only island, except for all the women hate the men, and it is a constant war against men that the men don't know they're in. So aside from Grace Van Patten, the island has Mia Goth, Havana Rose Liu, Soko, and Juliette Lewis.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it's a weird movie. It's uneven. I don't think it explains. I think it's an interesting premise that didn't get well enough explained. So, I mean, it could be very possible that I don't even have that detail, right? That's just what I chose to work out in my own mind to make sense of what was happening. But yeah, I think Anna realizes she doesn't really want to be on this island. Like, this is not where she
It doesn't
wants
sound
to
like
be.
the greatest place.
Yeah, well, it's hard to leave.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about all these islands.
It's hard to leave. Anyways, so this was not my favorite. I think it's an interesting idea. It just didn't quite gel for me. So, of the ones on my list, this so far is the one I most would consider skipping.
Mm-hmm.
Next, I watched The Blazing World. Again, I think alone.
Yeah, I didn't see this.
This one stars and is directed by Carlson Young, who is a young woman. I can't believe this is her first feature. Very ambitious. She does a lot with a little, but boy, is it confusing. It reminded me a little bit of Annihilation, just because it has that sort of crazy visual vibe going for it of this other world.
Okay.
Literally, it's about a young woman named Margaret. She goes home, her parents are separating, they're selling the house, and the whole family's been sad for decades because Margaret's twin sister, I think, drowned there years and years ago when they were little. But Margaret has always felt that maybe her sister is not dead because she thinks she saw her sister disappear into a portal with a strange man. So when she is back home and sees the same man in a portal, she climbs through it in search of her sister. What she finds through the looking glass is a whole other story. Oh my goodness. It's crazy over there. And I can hardly tell you what it's about because I don't really know. But yeah, she's searching for her sister. She's losing herself. She's finding all kinds of super scary stuff. Vanessa Shaw and Dermot Mulrooney play her parents. Soko is in this one as well. If you're a big Soko fan. Yeah, bizarre movie. Lots of blood. Lots of scariness. It's called The Blazing World.
It's a horror movie.
That is why it's a horror movie. Now, Sean, I have saved the best for last. I know your favorite
I know which one
horror
this is gonna
of the
be.
festival, Prisoners of the Ghostland. So this is the Nicolas Cage movie.
Yes, it is.
The Ghostland Sono Nicolas Cage movie.
Yeah.
Two wild and crazy guys getting together, and yet somehow both kind of watered down in this movie.
Absolutely.
Not as crazy as I expected.
No.
In fact,
It's
I was a
pretty
little disappointed.
straightforward. Yeah.
I think I would have liked this movie more if it had more of the craziness, which is crazy because I don't normally go in for that crazy Nicolas Cage thing.
You don't. But
and
he
yet,
was really
that's what you're here for.
Yeah, that is what we're here for. That's what we're expecting.
Yeah.
And he really is playing it pretty straight. Like, as straight as Nicolas Cage has played anything in 30 years.
Right. And it's a poor decision because it's such a crazy out there premise that it needed a little more ham and cheese, I think. So he plays this guy. It's such a weird, it's a post-apocalyptic world. It's a Western, it's a samurai movie, I don't even know.
Yeah, it's everything.
He's in prison, he gets busted out because some guy's granddaughter was kidnapped.
Right.
And for whatever reason, he has designated Nicolas Cage as the guy to go rescue his
It's
granddaughter.
unclear as to why,
Oh, so unclear. Because he was a bank robber.
Yeah.
So he's not like...
He's not a superhero.
tracker or
even though they
anything like
call
that.
him hero.
Yes, well, except for the granddaughter, whose name is Bernice, played by Sofia Boutella, nobody has real names.
Yeah.
Hero is Nicolas Cage, Psycho is Nick Cassavetes,
Right.
and the governor is Bill Moseley.
Yeah.
They don't have real names, except Bernice. Why? Why is there just Psycho, Hero, and Bernice?
Yeah.
My gosh, poor
And why
Bernice.
didn't they use Sofia Boutella in this movie? She's totally wasted.
Yeah, she's sidelined for sure. Anyways, not only does he have to save her, number one, she is in a place that is cursed, and he's gonna have to break the curse.
Yeah. Because you can't escape for some reason.
And the curse is something tied up with radiation accident?
A bus crash of prisoners, yes.
That got irradiated and
Correct.
are now monsters?
Yeah, and now prevent people from leaving. Something.
And she is like a mannequin.
They cover her in...
Who lost her voice.
She lost her voice, which is a whole thing because Nicolas Cage has a suit on with explosives. And
a leather suit.
To buy himself more time, he has to get her to say her name into the speaker on his wrist. And of course she can't because she
has no
lost her voice.
2 catches. If he raises a hand against a woman, his arm will explode.
Yeah.
And if he gets horny for the granddaughter, his nut will explode.
Right.
There are 2 nut exploders.
Yeah.
So, yes, we are going to see some nuts and arms
long.
explode.
No.
Yeah.
They don't hang that over. There's no...
You know what they say, if you
clock.
introduce a gun in Act 1, it has to go off by Act 2. It goes off. Okay. Yes, there will be some loss of testicles. Woo! And we're still saying this movie wasn't crazy enough. It sounds freaking crazy, because it is.
Yeah, but it's not crazy enough.
No.
It's not.
It's not. But, I mean, there's some cool visuals. There's a weird gumball thing at the bank that gets robbed with a kid who's very cute.
Yeah.
You know, it's Ghostland Sono, so there's flashes of him and his best stuff.
Yeah.
There's Nicolas Cage, who is at times bonkers, and you just want full-time bonkers and you get part-time bonkers, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, he is taking this a little too seriously.
Yeah.
And could have just had a lot more fun with it.
Yeah.
And then we would have had a lot more fun with it.
For the whole movie. Yeah.
Yes.
They clearly, like, this movie has to be completely bonkers. And it's like they shied away from it.
Yeah.
And that was a mistake.
It was. And yet, if you're a Nicolas Cage completionist,
well, you've got to see this then. This has to be
even though
on
he
your
himself
list.
is no longer intact. He is no longer a complete man by the end of this movie. I mean, hardly anyone is.
He's still a hero. Oh yeah, they're all going to get sliced up.
Oh boy. So, buckle up.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah,
boy,
just
did
don't
we
go
see
in with
some
high
movies,
hopes, really.
No, that's right. I mean, I think most people have learned to temper all Nicolas Cage expectations because he really has downgraded himself to this B-movie status.
It's a caricature.
And some of them are fun when you embrace that B-movie status. And I think that this particular movie, Prisoners of the Ghostland, could have benefited a little more from just leaning in to what you really are.
Yeah. It wasn't bad.
Don't
it
have higher ambitions.
It just wasn't what it could have been.
No.
I mean, it was bad, but it was like, it was watchable.
It's watchable. And I bet many people will watch it.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for you to let me know what you think, because goodness knows the world needs more bonkers Nicolas Cage and a few lesser testicles.
Doesn't have many more.
He's running out of testicles, guys. The world
The IRS
is a crazy
took them
place.
all.
Oh, burn. Shit got real.
Yeah.
Okay, well on that note, you know, it's all fun and games, all these horror movies, until somebody calls the tax man and then it's a real shit show. So let's wrap this up before someone gets wind of this. You got it?
Got it.
So those were the horror movies we saw at Sundance this year. Those weren't all of them. Those are the ones that we fit into the schedule. If you saw something else, let us know how it was. Did you like some of these? Are you looking forward to them? They're all coming down the pipe at some point, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.